Welcome to my channel. Here's today's eerie story. In the mist-shrouded hills of Cumberland, nestled atop ancient Roman fortifications, lies Corby Castle, a grand manor steeped in history and mystery. Among the Howard family's estates, this castle has long been the subject of whispers and rumors, for within its stately walls, a radiant boy once haunted, casting a long shadow over its illustrious history. It's said the ghostly figure made his most famous appearance in 1803, and though time has passed, the eerie events are still spoken of in hushed tones. The castle, though majestic, holds a secret in its very bones. Built on the foundations of an old Roman fort, part of the manor adjoins a tower constructed by Roman hands centuries ago. It was in this ancient wing that the ghost, glowing with an ethereal light, appeared to many unsuspecting guests. An account penned in 1824 details the hauntings that occurred in a room in the old house, adjacent to the Roman tower. Over the years, this room garnered the nickname, the Ghost Room, for the unearthly boy that plagued the sleep of its occupants. Who was this radiant boy? No one truly knows. His origin remains a mystery, lost to time, but his presence was as unmistakable as it was unnerving. Guests who dared to stay in the ghost room would often report strange noises echoing through the still night air, an overwhelming sense of being watched, and then, sometimes, if they were unfortunate, they would see him, the boy, glowing with a supernatural light, standing silent at the foot of their bed. His youthful beauty, haunting and surreal, was enough to leave even the bravest of visitors paralyzed with fear. One such encounter is chillingly recounted by Howard himself in his journal. The entry, dated September 8, 1803, tells the story of the rector of Greystoke, who, along with his wife, had been invited to stay at the castle. Upon their arrival, there was nothing amiss. The couple had planned to spend several days enjoying the hospitality of their hosts, but after just one night, they abruptly announced their departure at breakfast. Their decision shocked the Howard family, but it was only later that the rector confessed the terrifying reason behind their hasty exit. According to the rector, the night had been eerily still until the early hours, somewhere between 1 and 2 in the morning. He awoke suddenly, feeling the weight of something strange in the room. The fire in the hearth had long since died, leaving the room in near total darkness. Yet, inexplicably, a soft, glimmering light began to materialize in the center of the room. It wasn't the dying embers, nor a stray moonbeam. This light grew brighter, more intense, until it became a radiant flame. What followed chilled the rector to his core. From within the light emerged the figure of a beautiful boy, his face serene, his golden hair gleaming like threads of sunlight. He stood at the bedside, his innocent eyes locking onto the rector's with a gaze that was both gentle and unsettling. For several long minutes, the boy stood in silence, as though waiting for something. And then, just as quietly as he had appeared, he began to glide toward the chimney, his form disappearing into the stonework as though it were nothing but air. The room was plunged back into darkness, leaving the rector shaken and unsure if he had truly seen what he thought he had. Though visibly disturbed, the rector swore that what he saw was no dream. The boy's gaze, his glowing presence, lingered in his mind long after, and for 20 years, he could not shake the memory of that night in Corby Castle. Some speculated that the boy was an omen, a harbinger of misfortune, but no harm came to the rector, at least not immediately. Still, the ghost's appearance left a lasting imprint on all who crossed his path. And yet, the tale of the radiant boy does not end there. Decades later, another prominent figure would encounter the same ghostly apparition, but this time, the encounter carried with it a far darker premonition. The man was none other than Lord Castlereagh, the second Marquis of Londonderry, a figure of great importance in British politics during the early 19th century. His fate, however, would be sealed by an encounter with the boy that haunted his very dreams. As the story goes, long before his rise to political power, Castlereagh, then known as Captain Robert Stewart, found himself lost while hunting in Ireland. With night falling and the roads unfamiliar, he sought refuge at the estate of a local gentleman. Welcomed into the home, he was offered a room for the night. What Castlereagh didn't know was that he had been placed in what the household referred to as the boys' room. First, everything seemed ordinary. A roaring fire kept the room warm, and Castlereagh soon fell into a deep sleep. But his rest was disturbed by a sudden, brilliant light that flooded the room. Startled awake, he assumed the fire had somehow reignited. Yet, to his horror, the fire had died out completely. Instead, the light seemed to be emanating from the chimney, slowly taking shape until it revealed the glowing form of a naked boy, bathed in a blinding radiance. The boy's face was serene, his expression almost sad, and his golden hair gleamed like molten metal in the firelight. He stood silently, watching Castlereagh with an intensity that was both unnerving and sorrowful. The moment stretched on before the boy finally turned and disappeared back into the chimney, leaving the future Marquis in stunned silence. Enraged, Castlereagh initially believed he had been the victim of a cruel prank, but when he demanded an explanation from his host, he was met with a grim truth. The family had long believed that those who saw the radiant boy were destined for great fortune, followed by a violent and untimely death. Castlereagh, then a young man with little concern for such superstitions, dismissed the warning. However, as the years passed, the prophecy seemed to unfold with a chilling precision. Castlereagh rose through the ranks of British politics, amassing power and influence, but his fortunes took a dark turn. In 1822, beset by paranoia and mental anguish, he took his own life, fulfilling the boy's grim omen. To this day, the radiant boy no longer appears at Corby Castle, but his legend endures. Visitors to the castle speak of a lingering unease in the ghost room, a coldness that no fire can dispel, as though the boy's spirit is still watching, waiting for his next unsuspecting visitor. The radiant boy's story serves as a reminder that some ghosts are not bound by time but by the fate they herald, a fate as inescapable as death itself. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like and subscribe, and remember, darkness is never far away. Until next time,